I'm going to call this meeting to order tonight. Could we have roll call?
Elthon.
Here.
Nystrom.
Here.
Pritchard.
Here.
Teben.
Here.
Melhouse.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda is recognition of visitors, and I'd like to recognize the Boy Scout Troop 132 out of Augustana Church. They're here earning their government badge as they had to attend a local government meeting. So, kids, welcome. Leaders, thank you for bringing your kids tonight, and I hope they learn about our government process. Thank you very much. Okay. Next on the agenda is consideration of the agenda. Mrs. Tripa, is there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
I move to
Okay.
accept the agenda as printed. I move to approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as printed. Any comments, questions, or concerns? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The motion passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the time that we set aside to hear from delegations. In keeping with the National Character Council philosophy, the Boone Community School District promotes and models the principle of trustworthiness, respect, responsibility, fairness, caring, and citizenship. In conducting this meeting, we expect that all participants will act in a manner consistent with these principles. Here, as at the beginning of all board meetings, the board will listen to comments from the audience. Each person will be asked to step forward to the microphone in front so all can hear. Each person will be limited to 2 minutes, as was at the last board meeting. We ask each person to state their name at the beginning, and each person will be allowed to speak only once. We ask everyone respect each other's comments by not creating excessive noise during or after the comments. The board will listen but not respond to any of the comments. If you have nothing new to add, you may just state your name and what your position is on the matter. Thank you. Mr. Lewis, or there anyone signed up?
No. Does somebody want to come up and speak?
Take it.
When you come up, please state your name and address.
Well, guess it don't pull off. My name's Melanie Hasley. I'm at 427 West 7th here in Boone. The reason why I'm here today is because we live in the United States, and I'm grateful that we live in the United States. We have religious liberties. We have rights as parents to see how our children are growing up and to have decisions in how we bring our children up. Now, my grandpa used to be on the school board, William L. Martin. Dr. Milhouse, I'm sure you know who the Martins are because you were really good friends with my uncle Bill Martin. Okay, the thing that really is striking to me is that where does anyone on the school board have the right to overrule what parents decide is best for their children? And I want to thank Matt and Jeremy for supporting parents in your vote. Something that's really disturbing to me is religious liberties. Do we all believe in God here? Anybody? Our president of the school board, Dr. Milhouse, was my doctor. And we had a discussion over vaccinations, a very lengthy discussion about vaccinations. And I'm going to read to you out of my care plan what Dr. Milhouse had to say about my religious liberties. She does not want to get the COVID vaccine because she is a God-fearing woman and does not want to put anything into her body that God may not want. I had a long chat to re-educate this person. She is
Time's
one
up.
of the highest risk people.
Time's up.
Excuse me? Well, guys, I guess Dr. Milhouse don't want us to share the fact that you are a dictator and need to be removed
Please.
from the school board. And I and everybody that is going to be here for that
Ma'am,
election
please.
are going to vote you out. Good thing it's a 2-minute time limit. This isn't what America's about.
Do we have a next speaker?
This is not America.
It was an awfully quick 2 minutes to me, but. My name's Jordan Hammer. I live at 603 Clinton Street here in town. I have 3 young kids, one in the middle school, one in Franklin, one at Page. I just want to start out with some numbers here for you. 252 out of 330 school districts in Iowa. That's our ranking. 3 out of 10 for testing in the bottom 50% of public schools in Iowa. That's per publicschoolreview.com. Math proficiency is 65.34, reading proficiency is 67.4. Now that's just testing. Oh, and the sources for that is the Department of Education for you, Doc. Now I looked into an audit done by Hogan and Hansen that shows enrollment is down. Got that for you. You know, being how you ran on, we need to increase our enrollment. Anyways, last election, you said enrollment was an issue that would affect our budget, and that we need to increase our enrollment. After reading the statistics for the test scores for the district, I find it very frustrating to find out that, again, in the audit, conservative budgeting to student supports was the main increase for cutting down on expenditures. You cut back from student supports. The low test scores combined with the decline in enrollment that I shared shows me that perhaps our school board should pay more attention on improving test scores and a working budget without reduction in supports for our schools, and let us, the parents, make the decisions when it comes towards mask. I will end with this number for you, Doc. 200. That was the original number of signatures I sought out for the removal of you as president of our school board. And sir, in less than 2 weeks, we exceeded it. 241, and we're still counting. The copies I have back there in the file are all Boone residents, 80% whom are registered already, and the rest, I assure you, comes election time, they will be. You've had your tenure as board king and dictator. We will get you out. We will vote you out.
you.
We will be heard. And those of you on this board that disregarded your teachers, your parents, and your citizens,
Please,
you're
sir.
coming next, 2023. You have my personal promise, Doc. You're gone.
Who do you think pays your wages and who votes you into a job? Our
Is there any other speakers?
pay you.
That report's still down there for you, Doc, if you want to look at it. You know, means how the budget was almost doubled.
You want to speak, ma'am? Can you state your name and address?
I'm Amber Anderson. I live at 418 West 2nd Street here in Boone. I have 6 kids total. 3 of them do not want to be in school. They are homeschooled. 3 of them do. One has a doctor's note. Mr. Kelly said to get that so she wouldn't have to wear a mask. I'm totally against this. I don't think it's fair. My one kid who is homeschooled would like to dual enroll, but he will not because you guys are forcing him to wear a mask. I don't think it's right, and I'm really not for Millhouse, but this is wrong. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Leanne Allen. I have a student that goes to high school in 10th grade. He's a special needs student. I feel the mask mandate is wrong. You can get an exception for religion and medical, but what about the students that aren't diagnosed or are saying they don't want to wear a mask? What about them? You guys infringe on their rights. You guys are telling them they can't make choices on their own and that their parents' choices are bull. What gives you the right to tell any of my grandchildren, 6 of them, 3 homeschooled and 3 in school, 2 with IEPs? What gives you the right to tell me or their mother that they have to wear a mask, that we don't know what's right for them? And I fight for good things in this school, and I will continue to fight, but Dr. Melhouse, I find you rude, and you push this. You don't even have kids in school anymore. And you that voted yes for masks, did you consider kids that don't want to wear them or that it bothers, that has no diagnoses? How many of those kids have you considered? I'm betting none, because certain people on this board think they're God, and they're not. They think they're my child and grandchildren's parents, and you are not. I say no mask. Let the parents make the choices. Let the parents be parents. You guys have taken that away from us, and that is unfair. And if the high school goes, my son's not wearing a mask. I'm sorry. It took us a long time to even get him to wear it for 5 minutes. And if you tell me my son has to, we will come to war. No mask.
Any other speakers?
My name's Benjamin Porter. I live at 1309 Story Street here in Boone. We have 6 kids in school, and none of them want to wear masks right now. My daughter doesn't like wearing them. Some of the masks that she's got from the school teachers and staff were actually dirty, and I don't think that's any cleaner for her. She also wears glasses right now, and she can't wear her glasses and read the board with having the masks on. I also have a 17-year-old stepson for Dr. Milhouse that he's got 43% of a brain because he didn't put a cerclage stitch in my wife 17 years ago. So I think you've made a bad decision in the past. I'm just hoping you can make a better one for this. I got a bunch of kids that don't want to wear masks, and I don't think they should have to. It should be our decision. Also, they're not the one carrying around the COVID vaccine. They're pretty healthy. I did over a month ago. None of the kids in our house got it, and they all went to school during that time. So I don't see the mask helping for it. I also paint for a living, and I had a mask on today for over 4 hours, and I still have paint in my nose. I guarantee it. I don't think it's going to help that much. I'd like the kids to quit being bullied in school. I had to pull my 8-year-old stepdaughter out because they won't let her eat school breakfast because she didn't have a mask on. They sent her a different direction. I don't think it's right. I don't think they need bullied for not wanting to wear a mask. It should be a choice in this country. Thank you.
Any other speakers?
My name is Leanne Allen. My granddaughters, I have 3 of them that go to school. One in middle school. She has a lot of anxiety with a lot of different things. Getting her to wear a mask, to even think about going to school, is a total meltdown. She has gotten a medical exemption from her doctor that she doesn't have to wear it. I also have 2 granddaughters that go to Lincoln. They're in first grade. These first graders are still trying to learn to read, write, speak. One of the granddaughters has, I can't tell you exactly what it is, but she has a slower learning. She's trying to hear her words. She's trying to say her words correctly. How can that teacher look at my granddaughter and tell that she is pronouncing these words right? You can't see. I can't see what you're saying underneath that mask. You could be calling me an idiot. How can you sit there and say, oh, it's okay, put a mask on a child? We don't care if you end up learning how to read and write. These young kids, they have to learn how to speak properly. When I listen to people, I'm a mouth watcher. If I can't understand what you're saying, I look at your lips, and then sometimes I can make out what you're saying. You put a mask on these kids, you can't tell what they're saying. You can't see that they're okay, my time is up, but I want to mention, I talked to one of the principals, and no, we don't get money for masks, kids that wear masks. That's a lie. Boom, schools suck. You need to be for the parents, not for your pocket.
Next speaker.
N95 masks are the only thing that protects children and others from the virus, not the underwear that you're wearing on your face. I hope nobody knows. And you're a doctor, you should know this. You guys want to bill N95 masks. You guys want to bill it.
Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, and thank you for what you guys do. I'd just like to quote something, it's a great president in my time in high school, Mr. Ronald Reagan. Freedom is a fragile thing that's never more than one generation away from extinction. It's not ours by way of inheritance. It must be fought for and defended constantly by each generation, for it only comes once to a people. I chose to have the vaccine, and I left the choice up to my son. He's now 13 years old. My son made that choice because he was in hopes that this year he would not have to wear a mask because he felt it was uncomfortable. He said to me, "Dad, what do I do?" So for 2 days, I said, "Well, son, go to school, don't wear the mask," because that's a choice he wanted to make. That was his right as an American to make that choice. Then I spoke with Mr. Kelly, and we had an in-depth conversation. And I had to tell my son, "Well, son, you also got to obey the laws that's made for us, whether we like them or not." Unfortunately, I'm not in favor of wearing masks. Like I said, I had the vaccine. My son did as well. So I sent him to school against his own free will. I hope that you guys recognize what I said, because we are one generation, ever so closer than any time in all of our lives to losing our freedom. Not just masks, but everything. So you as the school board, I ask again, hear the parents, hear the majority of the people. If you want to wear a mask, great. That's your freedom to do so. It's my freedom and my son's as well not to. And what you guys did as far as having the high school separate from the middle school, in fact, that's discriminatory in itself. You're separating people and putting them into classes of age, so on and so forth. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service.
Any more speakers?
Hearing no more speakers, we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the consent calendar for routine business. Do I hear a motion?
I move to accept the routine business, except for the general fund account for Pritchard's of $1,278.10.
Okay, is there a second to the motion? Ms. Stephen, could you please repeat your motion?
Yes, my motion was to accept the routine business documents, except for in the general fund, an amount of $1,278.10 to Pritchard's.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda as printed, except removing the bill for $1,273 for Pritchard Plumbing. Is there any further discussion on any other items that need to be extracted? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed?
Abstain.
Okay. Now we'll deal with the other motion on the floor.
I move to pay the bill to Richards for $1,278.10.
Is there a second? Okay, it has been moved and seconded to pay the bill for Pritchard's for $1,278.10. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Okay, we'll now move on the agenda. Page and Lincoln update, Ms. Treba.
Yes, we have some staff and Autumn Sealer here to speak about Page and Lincoln and some of the activities and work that they've been doing there, and we'd like to share that with you at this time.
Do you want us to use a mic, or are we okay if we just talk? Do you want a mic?
Could you please use the microphone since there are people listening on TV?
I can't get it off. It probably comes out. Let's just use this.
Is she first time?
I'm Meredith Stroh, and I am the instructional coach at Lincoln and Page.
I'm Becky Rieger, and I'm the music teacher at Lincoln and Page.
Julie Malin, I teach transitional kindergarten at Lincoln.
And I'm Tanya Jenkins. I teach preschool and early childhood special ed at Page.
Awesome. So we're going to share some of our celebrations with you tonight. This is part of our leadership team that was able to attend and kind of point out some things. When we got together and thought about what are we really proud of that's happening at Page and Lincoln right now, we had all these different ideas, but they all came back to this idea that our students have lots of layers of support, so they have what they need to thrive. And that's around social emotional learning, that's around academic needs being met, and it's really an all hands on deck philosophy. So we really want to focus on our layers of social emotional instruction. That's really important to us. We feel like it's really important for our citizens to become great humans that know how to communicate with one another and support each other, solve problems, and be good friends. So because of that, we feel like we have to teach it. And you know, it starts really, really strong. Tanya's going to share some awesome little videos of our preschoolers, but it's really intentional at both of our buildings. We have a social emotional learning block that happens every day at our school, although that happens all the time on the playground and every second of every day anyway. We have common responses to how we treat our students and how we handle situations. Our preschool used really specific strategies from Tanya, and we also have shared ownership by all of our staff. Becky's here. She's our data expert / music teacher / amazing win teacher, and that's kind of our mentality. We have associates that are serving students. We have teachers that are serving students. We have secretaries that serve students. We all serve our students. We do that through a variety of settings. We have win time. You guys have heard about that before, what I need time. This year we started with a social emotional what I need time, which was a first ever, and it was amazing. And you will hear our little kindergartners talk about whether or not it's a big problem or a small problem and whether or not they can solve it on their own. We also have multiple tiers of support in the classroom for academics, which is awesome. We have multiple tiers of support within the school with our guidance counselor and our YSS family liaison, title, special ed, all of those services. And then really we're unique in our ability to offer transitional kindergarten to our students. That's a full day program. So our families and our students are really able to figure out what is the best fit for them. And it really ties back into that support that we give them. So we're gonna break it down a little bit for you.
All right, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the LEAP strategies that we use in preschool. And LEAP was created in Colorado. It stands for Learning Experiences, an alternative program for preschoolers and parents. And really, they're just strategies that teachers can use in the classroom to really increase those social interactions. And when LEAP started, it was created for kids with autism. And they kind of realized, wait a minute, most 4-year-olds don't know how to solve problems. Most 4-year-olds aren't sure how to enter a group, aren't sure how to get someone to play with them. And so there's 5 social strategies that we work on: getting a friend's attention, sharing with a friend. We've learned it's much easier to learn to share first and then learn to request it, because it's hard to give up something you want. So then it's requesting that a friend shares with you, coming up with a play plan, especially even like on our playground, having an idea of what you want to do, who you want to do it with, so that they can be productive outside or in the classroom. And then the last one is giving a compliment. And we teach these in large and small group activities, and then we give them lots of opportunities to practice these social skills. And I have 2 videos for you. The first one is a teacher-directed game that I came up with, where you get to see my kiddos practicing tapping a friend on the shoulder to get their attention and then giving their friend something. So we can watch that. Good job. Chug, chug, choo, choo. Let's see what Isabel can do. Whoa, look at that trick. So that's just a fun way we practice going around. After they've learned the skill, we practice it in a teacher-directed activity. And this game will last the whole year because it becomes their favorite. But we learn just to tap a friend on the shoulder and get their attention. And then the next video, once we've practiced the skills a lot, then we want them to be able to use those in the classroom, kind of child-initiated. And so to reward that, we give them, I just came up with something, I call it Kindness Kids. And we talk about what the skill they practice, and then we just get lots of positive reinforcement for that. Stand up tall and proud. Tell your friends, say, I am a kindness kid. Eddie is a kindness kid. He thought like Tucker Turtle, and he found a solution to a problem. He asked his friend to stop. Everybody say, yay, Eddie! Good job, buddy. You can go sit down. So that's some of what we am. And so we say, Tucker Turtle, saying that's a problem. You don't have the chance to push somebody or whatever a 4-year-old's first instinct might be. And so that gives heart, and it offers up ideas for them, like ask a teacher for help, ask them to please. Did you find a good solution? What does that one say? Play. Play together. That would be a good solution.
So where do I put this?
So that's some of the fun things we're doing in preschool, and it makes a huge difference. By Christmas, like they're just can solve all these problems independently. Whereas years ago, I had kiddos at the end of the year were still coming to me to help with their problems. So, Julie's next.
Okay, our transitional kindergarten program is an optional 2-year track to build a strong foundation for learning. And some of the unique things that we offer in transitional kindergarten, we have a focus on fine motor skills. So we have 20-minute block at the beginning of the day where they're all doing fine motor projects, and then we try to integrate it throughout the day, whether it's using dabbers or counting with small objects or using tweezers to pick things up. There's lots and lots of fine motor opportunities in TK. We also use EAK, which is the Enhanced Alphabetic Knowledge program. And this gives the kids repeated exposure to those letters and those sounds. We go over and over them, probably each letter 5 times, until everyone in the class has mastered each letter and each sound. Another wonderful program we have is the Project Approach, which is a science program that is totally student-driven. The kids choose what they want to learn about and what direction they want to go once that we're in that unit. And then we also have we always have a big project at the end. That photo in the middle is our bug pool noodle project, where they had to demonstrate their knowledge of the parts of an insect by making this fun pool noodle bug. And then we also do a great job meeting their individual social emotional needs. In TK, we have that grace of having that extra time where we can look at how our students are behaving on the playground or in the classroom, and if we see, oh, they need help inviting a friend to play, then we can take a few days or a week if we need to, just to focus on individual skills that our kids need to learn.
All right, so like Ada mentioned, this year we tried something a little bit different with the start of our win time. And so our kindergarten students had a social emotional win time to get started with things. We thought that this was a great way to introduce what win was all about before we asked them to do any academic tasks. So during that time, we really focused on building relationships with the kiddos. And the kids, every single time their teacher announces that it's time for win, I mean, there's cheers, and they're just so excited to go because they get to go in these small groups and meet with adults and have that that smaller group or one-on-one time with those adults. So it's a really special time for them, and they really enjoy it. We also were able to do a lot of learning during that time with social emotional skills. Like Ada mentioned, a lot of kids have been talking about small problems and big problems. And the minute they say it's a small problem, they're like, I can solve that. And so it was amazing to see our kids kind of wrap around those and our awesome adults that helped us deliver those lessons. I think you can go ahead and go to the next slide, please. So that's just an example of how our kindergartners are using their win time. Just this week, actually today, we started our win time for everybody. Everybody started new groups today, and that are all focused on different literacy skills. So we use a literacy progression to help guide us to know where kids need to be and where they're falling out in their skills so that we can really find focus groups that are focused around that skill. We're taking data and seeing how they're progressing, and when they're ready, we move them on up. It's kind of just like a stair step as they continue on. It's very fluid, very flexible. If students have made progress in just a short couple of weeks' time, we go ahead and move them on up the progression because they're showing us that they're ready for that next skill. All levels of support for all needs. So even our kids that are rocking it and are really, really high, we're pushing them and having them go even further. For example, our highest first grade students right now are working on comprehension because we know that they really have the reading skills down. They're ready to take it to the next level and really think deeper about the text. And that's where our awesome specials teachers come in as well, because all hands are on deck this time. I'm asking our specials teachers who teach music or PE to step in and teach literacy. And they do an awesome job. They have 4 win groups because they serve 2 at each building. So they serve the most of all of our kiddos, and they are rocking it. So I have to give a big shout out to my specials teachers. So I'll pass it along.
Okay. That's quite a buildup. But,
yeah,
do this.
Sorry, I had to take some videos of some kids. Yeah. The little girl, by the way, she goes, I know why you picked me, because I'm adorable. So make sure that you think in your head that she's adorable. She really wanted you to know that.
Go with that teacher and play games. I go with that teacher and play games. I like wind because it grows my brain. I like wind because I go.
All right.
Okay, well, I just wanted to give you a quick example of how we do all hands on deck. The specials team involved with WIN is art, music, PE, And then the library associate steps in. We share the art teacher with high schools. So every other day, the library associate teaches that group. And I did a little math, and I figured out the specials teachers handle 27% of the Lincoln students in WIN and 38% of the Page students. So our schedule really is tailored to make time for us to teach WIN. So we start out at Page, we do our content area, then we do a kindergarten WIN, a first grade WIN, we pack up, drive across town, eat lunch, have a first grade WIN, a kindergarten WIN, and then do our content area there. And sometimes the different buildings have different learning targets. Sometimes they're the same, sometimes they're different. So it keeps us on our toes. So you can go to that's my WIN group today, kind of showing off. I tried a selfie and I only got my arm. So, okay, you can go to the last slide. Okay, and so an example again of all hands on deck. Meredith, our instructional coach, does the targeted lesson plans for us because we are teaching outside of our content area. So she writes very detailed lessons that are targeted to the learning goals for that particular group. And then it's our job to teach those with fidelity. So we can have Meredith or Autumn come in and demonstrate for us, which we have done, or to come and observe to make sure we're doing it correctly. And we try to have a lot of attention to detail on that. But I'll tell you, after a few years, you get the idea of how some of these flow. So I was excited when I saw that I got to teach Comprehension Toolkit again. So I think I got that one down. So, but it does take a great deal of logistics just to keep 4 different groups going in 2 different buildings, and just keeping track with your brain, who you have, what you have, calendars, lists, materials. A big shout out to my team, because we do take WIN seriously and we put a lot of effort into it. But we know all the kids know us, so it's kind of a perfect setup, and it's kind of fun to see them in smaller groups and get to know them in a different way rather than in the large group in our regular classrooms.
Yeah, and I think that's a prime example. Our specialist teachers do a great job of really helping kids grow. Their data turns out great, their kids grow, and it's awesome, but I think it just shows how much at Page and Lincoln we're really devoted to meeting our kids' needs. And like Becky said, it's our highest priority. How can we serve our kids? How can we meet them in a variety of settings? How do we make sure we have good data? And how do we make sure that we're responsive to that data? So we're pretty proud of the awesome things happening at Page and Lincoln. That's it. Any questions?
I do. Whoops. Nah, it's not working. Sorry. I do like to hear this, because that's one thing I miss about subbing. It was so fun, and I would go in and the WIN thing was all fixed and ready to go. And you guys are doing a great job with the little ones. I just want to thank you. It's very nice.
Any comments from any other board members?
I just want to thank you ladies for doing the WIN time and everything you guys do for our district. I have a kid in first grade who is sometimes man of few words, I guess you could say, but I do know he enjoys WIN time, and I look forward to the future of this and continuing to grow in our buildings as we have hopefully a new facility that we can even do more with these type of things and keep making education fun. So thank you ladies for what you do.
Thank you very much, ladies, for your excellent presentation. Next item on the agenda is high school handbook revision. Ms. Stripa?
Yes, so the handbook revision, we are excited because we are wanting to add a biliteracy seal as an opportunity for our students. So I'm going to let both Dr. James and Mr. Johnson speak to that a little bit.
Okay, I won't do that. That's bad. So we had hoped to have Mrs. Anderson come help present tonight, and she was unfortunately unable to come at the last minute, but kudos to her and our high school counselors for really putting together this that we present as an addition to the handbook for an opportunity for our students to gain the biliteracy seal. So it is something that was offered or it's an opt-in that we can add as a way to recognize our students who are literate in at least 2 languages. And in order to do so, we let the Department of Education know that this is something that we'd like to include for our students, and then and we need to do that in a fall report here at the end of October. So we bring to you this edition that's been a couple months in the making. Mrs. Anderson and the Spanish department really started talking about a way that we could recognize some of our students who have really put in the time to learn a language, or who are already literate in another language that they may speak at home other than English. And so they've done some research on assessments that we could use. We already give the ACT to all of our students. That's one of the assessments we can use for English proficiency, as well as the Iowa statewide assessment. So those are in place. And then they did research on what might work best for a second assessment to show that they were literate in another language. And they've kind of put all that together and put this into kind of language that could go into our handbook and then be shared with our students. A quick poll of students in our like Spanish 4 classes. We probably have 10 to 15 students who might be interested in giving it a try, and they would be recognized on their transcript as well as their diploma. And so it's something that kind of goes forth with them to just show their efforts and the skill set that they have. Anything you want to add?
The only thing I was going to reiterate is just it's a great way to recognize our students that are putting in the work to be bilingual, to be proficient in both languages that we offer, English and in Spanish. So we thought it'd be a great way to recognize them at graduation and on their accreditation or their diploma.
When they go into the college system, those that require so many years of a foreign language, if they have the biliteracy seal, that excludes them from that requirement. So that's another advantage that students would have if they take that on.
Any questions for us?
Yes, we look for your approval to add this to the handbook and then start advertising to kids. We've semi-told them that we hope it's coming.
Thank you very much for the presentation. This is an action item, so I'll entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Dr. Nystrom, seconded by Mrs. Teben to approve the biliteracy seal opportunity for our students. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next on the agenda is the FAST data review for K-8. Dr. Janes?
I'll stay. Here is our fall FAST data report. And most of you have heard my spiel before, but I'll give the quick one. That is, FAST is a reading and math screener that we give in grades TK through 8. There's different pieces to the assessment depending on the grade level, but it is meant to be a screener. And with that in mind, that means it's meant to kind of catch which kids are on track or meet benchmark and would be on track to really score at college and career readiness on the ACT is what that correlation is there for. So it's meant to catch kids that are on track, and if there's any kids that might need some extra assistance, maybe catch those kids too. So those benchmarks are set in a way that there may be kids who are totally on track, but they're right on the bubble, and it kind of catches us and alerts us to those students and their needs so that we can do exactly what you just heard our Page Lincoln folks talk about and respond to that data and make sure those kids have additional supports or all the supports they need in gaining those literacy and math skills. And so we do it fall, winter, and spring. And this is data that I have to say I think I and several of our teaching teams are really anxious to get this fall to just kind of see where are we at with filling some of those gaps. When I brought you this data last year in the fall, we had some pretty big gaps with our kids, especially our early readers that really missed a key chunk of their schooling and their time in school with us. And last year was not a normal year. So I think as I present this, what really stands out to me is that this year's second grade class has yet to have a normal year of school. So when I look at those students and I'm looking at their data and their growth as readers, I'm really pleased with the progression that they have made, knowing that they lost a key part of their instruction the whole fourth quarter of their kindergarten school year, and then have not really had a sense of normal school. Many of the supports and the win time, the things that all our Page Lincoln team just talked about and shared with you are things that we weren't really able to do at the level that we typically do during our COVID times. So kudos to the teachers for all the work that they have done to really fill those gaps, meet kids where they are, and help them grow. The growth that we see, I have the fall score, or I'm sorry, the spring scores of the same group of kids kind of in gray beside them. And so that second grade group I just want to like clap and cheer for, because typically we see maybe a little bit of a summer slide and some fall from where they were in the spring to where they come into us in the fall first thing. And those kids are just on track and picking up the skills and making great gains. And we see that with most of our grade levels as they're moving along, maybe a little bit of a dip across the summer, but in general, those skills had held strong. And then this next page is math. The math screeners are a little more holistic than the reading ones. They maybe don't give us quite as much. The data is a little harder to piece out, but we work with our AEA consultants, and most of our grade level teams have done data days where they've really collaborated around this data to then say, okay, how do we respond? What does that look like? And that's even down to what's the win group for a particular group of kids, or how are we going to group kids for additional supports, or at the middle school level, if there's 6 sections of 6th grade math, one section might get something a little bit different than the 4th hour section or the 8th hour section, just because of that particular group of kids that's in class in that hour might need something a little bit different than the rest. So it's not just teaching 5th grade, it's saying what does this group of 5th graders need that might be different than another. So here's our fall data. Again, we're watching that closely as a screener to say, are there some additional supports and things that we need to put in place for kids? But we're really looking at what are those gaps, and we're feeling like there's a lot of our kids getting back on track after some of those COVID dips.
Thank you very much, Dr. Janes. Are there comments from board members?
I have a question, Jill. Like the column for reading for the fall, the top number, like 60, let's look at 3rd grade, 63% hit benchmark, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And out
You
of
scroll
that
just a little bit.
63%, their accuracy was for word calling was even stronger. Is that what that means?
Mitch, can you scroll so I can make sure I'm looking at the same data? I don't know which way your computer scrolls. I need to be able to see grade 3. Keep going, keep going. Perfect.
Okay.
Yes, so 63% of our 3rd graders met the overall benchmark, the fluency score, and then we always hand calculate the accuracy, because we know that students need to be accurate at the word level before they can be, with the whole passage of text. And so 78% are accurate at the word level. There's some work to be done there, and we know that. Again, that particular group missed a large chunk of 1st grade. So that's a group that, as 2nd graders, we were working really hard to continue that phonics work and that word level accuracy. And they have a little ways to go yet, but they're making great growth. You are correct.
Any other comments from board members? I'd just like to say that I was impressed with these numbers in that we didn't see nearly the drop from this past spring to fall. Oftentimes that drop is 10, 15 points. In fact, there are several of these that increase if you look at the diagonals. Folks got to go down over 1, which I thought was very good.
Yeah,
Very
and
encouraging
that's
numbers.
just kudos to our teachers that have really gotten, they're the ones that are doing the hard work with the kids, and they are being responsive to the data, as you heard from Page Lincoln folks. So kudos to them.
Thank you very much. The next item on the agenda is Ms. Tripa and Mr. Lewis talking about the financial overview.
Yes, Mr. Lewis is going to go through our fiscal year 21 recap for you.
Well, we ended pretty strong this year. We had our auditors come about a month ago. We should begin a draft report here pretty quick. So these numbers are 98% sure. Have to find out our authority with the state after they get the audit processed. This first sheet is the fund balance comparison. So this shows the beginning balance that we had this year. So last year's ending, the revenues in and then the expenditures out. As you can see, general fund increased. Student activity went down just a little bit. Management went down. We knew that was coming. Pearl, we're still increasing that. We're going to use that for the playground for the elementary building. Saves, so that would be our sales tax funds. And then our projects, there's our elementary project right there. Pebble Fund is where we have our buses and our one-on-one in technology, everything out of that. Debt service is where we pay half of our bonds out of. Enterprises would be our nutrition and our beat fund. Internal service is our dental, self-funded dental, and then our agency fund for our trust fund for our scholarships. So not a huge change from last year to this year. This next one shows the fund cash balance change from 2013 onto this year. You can tell our fund cash fund balance has kind of stayed pretty the same across that. You can tell there's a little increase last year for COVID, but it's pretty much stayed around where it should be. The next one is when we get into our school board policies. The first one is our spending authority, and that is the target of 15%, no less than 10 and no more than 20. This year, I estimate we're going to be 16.36, so it is an increase from last year. Last year was 15.08%. So we did increase, but we're still not past the 20. And it's looking like we're increasing our fund balance by $850,000. A lot of that is due to the ESSER dollars that we received, and then not being able to find staff who can work. Staff shortage, that is causing some of that too. So looking in the past, these are estimates for the future years. Obviously these can change. Our enrollment changes at a drop of a hat. SSA changes. So this is just a prediction of what could happen. The next one is our solvency. So this would be the relationship of our fund balance to our revenues. That is our minimum of 15%. This year we're at 21.74, so we're higher than last year and way above our goal. As like the previous one, the next following years are just a forecast. We don't know for sure what's going to happen those years, but we did end up strong this year. So.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Having sat on this board for many years, there have been years where we thought our allowable growth would be in the negative within 2 to 3 years' time. And our administration has done a very good job of keeping that revenue balanced. The 7-year forecast ahead there does look very good. Of course, we've got some building projects in there, and also we don't know what the revenue is going to be from the state year to year, so this is just a guesstimate at best.
Yep, so we realized we had a decrease in enrollment this year, so our monies this year will be less than last year, just a little bit, so this year probably will be a little more closer year to break even than last year. So,
comments, concerns from other board members? Hearing no further comments or concerns, we'll move on to the annual settlement, and I believe it goes over the left side again.
So this is just one of those annual action items that we have. This is just to approve the ending balances in all of our accounts as of June 30. So these are the balances we have. We have our iShed account, which are our investment accounts, that holds most of our cash. Our UMB bank accounts, that holds our flexing, our sinking and reserve accounts for our bond payments, and then we have our checking accounts. So those are the dollars where our money sits as of 6/30, and then the accounts where those are in. So this is just an annual approval of this report.
Okay, any questions for Mr. Lewis? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion here.
I move that we approve the annual settlement as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, it's moved and seconded to approve the fiscal year 21 annual settlement. Hearing no further discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next, we'll go over to our special education deficit. Mrs. Tripa, Mr. Lewis.
So I can start us off with the fact that we do have a deficit still in special education. And so in order to pay for that, we are requesting allowable growth and supplemental state aid for the negative special ed balance in the amount of $657,726.30 for the fiscal year 21 school year. It is an improvement from previous deficit amounts, which is encouraging, but I will turn over to Mr. Lewis so he can share the areas that impacted that the most.
So the biggest factors that brought us from 1.3 to 657,000, we had more students who were counted as special ed, so that increased our funding for us. We also had decrease of open enrolled out tuition to other schools, and then our Medicaid receipts were quite a bit higher. If you guys remember last year when we were in COVID closure, I think it was 26% of the school year, we couldn't claim Medicaid for those months. So a lot of schools had that hit. This year, we were back to our normal amount to claim. So.
Any further questions for board members?
Yeah, I was wondering about Medicare or Medicaid reimbursements when I looked at this, and this doesn't include them, right? It does include them. Okay.
Last year reimbursement was roughly 400,000. This year was over 600,000.
Okay.
So there's another 200,000 we can think that help against that.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Any further comments? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion on this item.
I move to accept the special education deficit request.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to accept the special education deficit request. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Next are 3 letters from Elias and Cooney, engagement letters. Mrs. Tripa.
So before you have 3 engagement letters for from Allers and Cooney that we would like to have approved for the 2 bond refunding and the new sales tax bond issue as well. So all 3 are in your notes, and that's just also to disclose our council as moving forward as well.
Just want to make note so you guys are fully aware. Within the past 2 years, you guys have refunded 2 bonds and then done advanced surplus levy, including this new refunding that we're going to start here soon. We're going to save the district over $2 million in interest costs. So just so you guys are fully aware of what we're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Lewis. Are there any questions from board members? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to accept all 3 of these letters at once.
I move to recommend approval of the
for the 2 bond refunding and the new sales tax.
The one that's going to save us about prospective banks.
Okay. Is there any questions from board members?
Second.
That a resolution
Yes.
for
from Allers, just fixing the date. This is going to be used for the high school gym project, futures, and homes future public hearing.
Okay, any questions from board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Issuance approximately $8 million.
Alphon,
Yes.
Nystrom,
Yes.
Pritchard,
Yes.
Tebow.
Yes.
One is resolution fixing the date for public hearing on the proposed use of SAVE revenue for an athletic facility infrastructure project. Mr. Lewis.
Use sales tax dollars for them. We have to have that here.
Okay. Questions from board members? Okay. Hearing none. A public hearing on the proposed use of SAVE revenue for an athlete. On, Ms. Tripa.
So we also have Chad.